No, not Tomoe. See, Makoto, that's what you get for neglecting Tomoe. I'm so mad right now. It's a bad cliffhanger at the end. I know nothing's bad's gonna happen to Tomoe. Let's be honest. I don't think this show's gonna get dark. I mean, the next episode title is Goodbyes. But no, I don't think they're gonna get this dark. But I still hurt for Tomoe. And thankfully, they finally kind of acknowledge the fact that he's such a jerk to Tomoe in this episode, which is kind of nice. But yes, my thoughts on episode 10 of Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy. And yeah, I want episode 11 now. Please, somebody. I guess to get into the episode, yes, they pretty much have this opening where Makoto's fleeing. He eventually, inquires to Tomoe, what he can do to resolve the situation. And yeah, that's when she's like, oh, well, you decided to run off with Mio alone and have a little date together, and you always neglect me, and you get mad at me for talking about swords and sake, and I like I said, I'm kind of glad that they finally have this moment where she's like, dude, you're kind of a jerk to me, and you're always nice to Mio. But yeah, he's like, hey, I'll let you grow rice, and you can have swords made, and then she's super happy, and devises a plan to teleport the adventurers to the illusory town, and at the same time use his absorption magic to kind of knock out the mana that the one of the elves have. So not elves, sorry, ogres. Are they called ogres or orcs? Ogres. So yeah, he uses that and then has Mio. He gives Mio some of his blood, which snaps her out of it, and then she ties him up. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we thought you were bad people. Oh, you're just merchants. Cool, let's go to the village," which is kind of very quickly wrapped up. But yeah, they go to this little village where they find out that there's this, I guess, a weird setup they have there, because they kind of point out they're supposed to be elves, but they're actually ogres. And the son of one of the elders comes in and says, yes, we're actually elves. We're descendants of ogres. It's just apparently they've kind of isolated themselves from the other elves because they don't... There's something to do with the seal being broken on the dragon, which I'm assuming they're talking about Tomoe or Shin. And it seems like they've isolated themselves away from the normal elves, and they claim that they don't actually make pacts with spirits or anything like that. So kind of a weird little isolation they're doing. We kind of find out later on that Shin is the one that actually created this kind of illusion spell around the village to keep anybody from being able to come in and find them. But yeah, this son, I don't know, apparently is very suspicious of Makoto. He's like, so you beat both Aqua and Eris, and you're supposed to be a traveling merchant? That doesn't make any sense. But we kind of find out later when he sends Mio to kind of investigate or spy on everybody to find out what's going on. They end up finding out this Adonog person is apparently talking to demons. And also this guy that's training both Aqua and Eris, who's like the Kool-Aid man, comes buzzing through the wall like the Kool-Aid man. All I could think of was, oh yeah, the moment that he came into the picture. But this guy apparently that's been training Eris and Aqua is acting very suspicious, and we'll come to find out later that he's actually a lich, and this lich at some point during this festival just pops out of him and drains this Adno guy and says that he's troublesome or something like that, and that he's seeking some power to become a Grant. And obviously Makoto really quickly dispatches him and kind of uses this kind of drain ability to drain him. And following this, Tomoe shows up there, and we kind of find out that the elder there apparently supposed to know who Tomoe is, because they're all kind of apparently worshiping Shin because she erected this barrier around them. And so when she kind of acknowledges, oh yeah, you're Shin, they all panic and start, bowing to her. And it was kind of funny because they follow this up with this like, oh, so you're not a traveling merchant. You're actually really strong. We were actually doing this festival to make your guard lower so that we can execute you. It's like the whole time they were acting like they wanted to be friends and they just want to kill him. It's similar to Aqua and Eris. They're talking about the fact they always welcome people into their village, and like, that is not what it seemed like it was you were doing. But yeah, this is where we get a little bit into something interesting, as they basically take this lich that came out of this guy, take him back to the demi-plane, and they start questioning him. And to kind of find out this lich who came out of this guy is actually seeking to become a Grant. And apparently these Grants are essentially an evolved or an ascended version of a human. And his whole reasoning behind this is because he believes that there's like some kind of knowledge in the history where if you become a Grant, you can then travel worlds. It doesn't get into why he wants to travel worlds. I was kind of expecting it to get into some kind of thing about maybe a loved one or something like that, isekai'd somewhere else, and he wants to follow them. But this is essentially something that he's seeking out. He wants to become this level of a human, which is a Grant, and then travel worlds. And this is where Tomoe kind of steps in and says, I think your understanding of this Grant isn't correct. You don't become a Grant and that allows you to transfer worlds or travel worlds, but more of a thing that it was used to label people who do get to travel worlds. So when you do travel worlds, you are a Grant. It was interesting because it was kind of laying it out as this idea that, that random humans will come across these portals to other worlds and then travel through them and go to other worlds. Not necessarily, and it was funny because it was showing Makoto recalling his parents, but if I remember correctly, his parents were specifically a case where they were given the ability to isekai by the goddess as a contract, and that Makoto was the returner for that contract to be fulfilled. So unless they made that up and Makoto discovered something else at some point, it doesn't make sense why he's equating the two of them. Because it wasn't a simple case where his parents just popped in a portal and bypassed this 10% chance of actually living through the transfer to another world. It was that they were granted access to it. But either way, this does kind of establish this idea that Makoto at some point could possibly find one of these rifts, if this is really the case, that it's a thing that you can do without the aid of a god or goddess, that you can travel worlds by yourself. It does at least give something to him in the idea that, well, I can find one of these rifts and this will give me a chance to try to make it home. But a 10% chance is not quite something I think most people would want to wager. Unless you really don't like the world that you're in. Which is something that technically is pointed out by Tomoe. She's like, there's a lot of humans that have found these rifts, and the 10% chance that they actually do travel through it, in a lot of cases they come back because they don't like the world they go to. Which is obviously, in comparison to Makoto's case, his parents obviously found a world they wanted to stay in. But yeah, that's where we jump to... I'm even not sure if it's related or not, but they do show a brief moment where the fragment of Tomoe is walking with I forget who the guy is, but they're walking around. They have all these items. Very rare. I think it was a guy, one of the Alka, one of the spider guy that's actually researching stuff, and they're just finding like a random storage place to put stuff in. Nearby, they have the adventurers that they transported to this illusory world. And they are trying to figure out a way of busting out, and they know there's this place that they have all these treasures in, which, again, she calls a waste place, a waste storage. Again, I'm not sure if it's related to that, but essentially some explosion happens in the demi-plane, and Tomoe falls over bleeding and saying that she's sorry, she messed up or something like that. Which, again, I don't know if it's related to the adventurers, or the adventurers blow something up, and that in her demi-plane injured her, or if the demi-plane in general is being invaded, and that's why the explosions are happening and Tomoe is injured. But yeah, well, I guess we'll have to wait to see. Again, I don't expect there to be anything permanently bad about Tomoe. I'm sure she'll snap back into it eventually, but it still sucked to have that as a cliffhanger, especially after so many episodes of me feeling bad for Tomoe, and then she finally falls over. Maybe this will cause Makoto to start acknowledging Tomoe and treating her better, because he doesn't treat her nice at all. But yeah, we also have of course, with this, we have the addition of this Lich. I don't think they've named him yet. I've seen names elsewhere, but I don't know if they've named him yet, so I'm not going to say what he's named, but basically this Lich. Obviously, Kindro Suda is his voice, so that's awesome. He now has this pretty guy that's walking around with him that's voiced by Kindro Suda, my Seiyu man crush. I got a kick out of it, the whole Kool-Aid man thing, like following that, he gets knocked back and he's smoking this twig that's on fire. Just a lot of really goofy scenes in here. Just the Lich being angry at how, downplayed Makoto is about his abilities and how he's always been striving for power, and so it kind of makes everybody mad because he's angry at Makoto. He's talking about how he wants to buy spell books from the Lich because, obviously he has this knowledge of magic. And he's like, currently all I have are these single page spells that are given to me by an orc. Which ticks him off. But yeah, that's my thoughts on episode 10 of Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy. I hope you guys enjoyed my impressions. If you did, leave a like down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon if you can. And y'all take care.